He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome to Coast View, the show that celebrates the men and women who are working so hard to make coast of Mississippi and Mississippi, for that matter, a better place to live, work, and play. Today we have a super special show. I'm really looking forward to this upcoming conversation with Brian and Marie Sanderson, who are entrepreneurs. They have their own businesses they're involved in, but they started the Mississippi 30-Day Fund. Some of you may have heard about it before. If you haven't heard about it, we'll talk to you a little bit more about what it is, how it came about. But anyway, it's great to talk to you guys again and to get an update. How are y'all doing?
We'll talk to you a little bit more about what it is, how it came about.
That's good to see.
August on the Gulf Coast in the state of Mississippi, isn't it?
And to get an update, how are y'all doing?
Ooh, yes. And no hurricanes yet, so let's just
on the Gulf Coast
let's keep the hurricanes away from us. We don't need any more challenges. I'm not wishing poorness on anybody.
But just,
we don't need any more challenges here in coastal Mississippi.
We don't need any more challenges.
Hey, listen, by the way, I love the setup. And I had someone recently said that they wanted to do a meeting, a Coast View session with me, and there were two of them. And I said, you guys are going to be kind of sluggish to do two people. Maybe we need to do two different Skype connections. And then I remembered these two people actually work together, so they're around each other all day. And I said, go watch Brian and Marie Sanderson. That's kind of the best practice on how to set this up for the Facebook and YouTube audience. Anyway, I love the way you guys had this set up, and I listen. But before we go any further,
and YouTube audience,
I know I say this every time we're together, but when you're in the midst of a disaster like we are now, an economic disaster, it takes so many different people coming to the forefront. I've referred to them as 1,000 points of life, kind of pulling off of Bush's old statement. But it's true. It takes 1,000 points of light. I mean, even when you don't have a disaster, to help a community run, because there are always going to be holes that need to be filled. There are going to be needs in the community, from the homeless to feeding people to all points in between. We're so lucky to have United Way and the Gulf Coast Community Foundation and Goodwill Industries in South Mississippi, and the list really goes on and on. But even after all of these organizations do their work, you still have to have people who are involved in the community, who are always listening to see where those additional needs might be. There may be needs that are already there that we didn't see before, or there may be new needs. There may be new, really compelling needs that arise in a community. And of course, after Katrina, we learned that there can be infinite number of needs that arise, and we're certainly learning this after the COVID situation, particularly as you think about this being an economic disaster. The impact that it has had on small business in this state and around the country is so fundamentally important to our overall economy, because it's small business that makes our economy tick. But what you guys did is to listen and watch and pay attention to what's happening in our community, across this state, and to appreciate and become passionate about. There has to be more we can do to help small businesses. Many of these small businesses are just one and two woman or men operations, and they didn't have the ability to get grant money from the federal government, et cetera. So you've got this incredibly important part of our economic recovery, and no real programs designed to help them. So you guys brought a program in from another state that you had seen that was successful from one of your partners, and you started the Mississippi 30-Day Fund here, which was designed to raise money and then redistribute money to small businesses in the way of grants, forgivable loans or grants, however you want to say it, in a way that could literally save a small business. I think the max is $3,000, right, Marie?
That's correct.
And so you've done this, and I just want to, I say it every time, I want to congratulate you and thank you for being willing to do this, because the thing that we're going to talk about now is that this is not like Katrina that came and went and you going to solve a problem, then it's going to be over. You guys got into this for the long haul. You're in it for the long haul. And I do expect eventually you're going to move on, but then the 30-day fund will fall under some organization that can continue to run with it because the need's not going to go away. So I thank you for your passion, and I'm privileged to have had an opportunity to work with you guys and advise you along the way. And I think this is maybe the third or fourth time we've been on the show together to update people. And I think this is maybe before we get to the Mississippi 30-day fund. Let me ask you, how are you doing? How's your family doing? What's the latest on your businesses? The Mississippi 30-day fund.
We're hanging in there. Every day is brings something new. In some respects, it's like the day before. But school, that's been top most of our minds, particularly this week as we're looking to go back to school tomorrow. We'll see what the governor has in store later today in that regard. Business has been good and steady. I think Marie's probably looking forward to a little bit of a break if Congress goes into recess here next week. So it's been steady, and we count our blessings every day. So
yeah,
it's
Marie, how about you?
Anything you want to add to that?
Said, mom, getting kids ready for school, going through like every other parent is doing the safety protocols and contingency plans, but we're hopeful and excited that we'll have a safe and healthy year. Businesses is busy, but that you can expect that. With a year with so many uncertainties, our business in the public affairs space as well as government affairs is needed by a lot of people. So we're staying steady and hopeful that our kids can have a routine because that helps us do our job when our kids have a routine. Hopeful that
well, education's a big topic. This is being recorded on August the 4th for technology reasons, but it'll play tomorrow. So by then we will have heard what the governor's announcement is this afternoon. But I have, following you guys, I have Matt Buckley, who's the principal. I should say, actually, Dr. Matt Buckley. He got his PhD recently. I'm very proud of him. What a bright young star he is in the education community. But he's the principal at St. Patrick High School. He'll be on after you guys, and we're going to talk more about all the efforts that are underway. I've had a number of superintendents on over the last month or two. My daughter is a teacher at St. James Elementary in Gulfport. Just watching what she's going through. Gosh, man, this is not a time to be a teacher. Now, look, thank God for teachers. Let me say that. This is not. But the amount of coaching and student by student, parent by parent coaching that's happening right now to get ready for how to make for and assure for a safe environment for learning. Man, we're so blessed to have them. But you're right. I mean, we got to once we understand sort of get clarity around all of this. I mean, we'll have a better feel for it. But it's every day you get new information. I think it is an ever-changing picture. Every day, just based on the information that we're getting, it's a little bit of science and we're pushing up against the need to get our kids back into classrooms and the impact that it's having on parents who would not know. That's a tough no man's land to be in, isn't it, you guys? That's a tough no man's land to be in. So, what about your businesses? Marie, you've been burning the candle at both ends. What about your businesses? Marie,
yes, absolutely. Stay really busy, trying to maintain that work from home. The dynamic with the kids being home. My 3-year-old told me to put my phone down the other day, Mommy. So yes, I mean, I'm working hard and trying to set boundaries, like every parent does with their children. But that was the first time I realized that even our youngest had picked up on technology and the fact that Mommy works a lot. So trying to rein that in. But times certainly are busy, and we're having to do it from home.
Yeah.
But times
so
certainly
look,
are busy, and
for people who have not heard our conversation before, just real quickly, you guys are both involved in organizations that do. Marie, you have multiple companies you're involved with, and you do policy work and all kinds of stuff that involves governors and work in Washington. So you work all over the United States. You live in Ocean Springs. You have 3 kids. And as if that wasn't enough, you started the Mississippi 30-Day Fund. And as if that wasn't enough, you started. I used to say when I was at the Sun Herald and my other endeavors, if you want something done, find a busy person to do it. I mean, find a busy person. In your case, man, you look up busy person, and there's a picture of you too for sure. So let's remind people of the Mississippi 30-Day Fund and what it is.
Sure. Well, the Mississippi 30-Day Fund is a nonprofit that has the ability to provide forgivable loans up to $3,000 to eligible small businesses. And the eligibility is defined between 3 and 30 employees. And you have to have demonstrated that your business has been impacted by COVID and that you'll use the funds to keep employees, to help pay for things that are important and critical to your business that may have been put by the wayside because of resources not being there for COVID. And I will say this, you don't see funds like this in normal times. We have a 501c3 designation because it is a disaster. So if you're a donor, it's a charitable donation to provide help to a business in need, but that is special because it's a disaster C3 declaration.
Well, it's been amazing watching you guys. The funds have come in from individuals, from you've signed a few corporate partners in this effort. There is no shortage of applications, and I know that's got to be frustrating because there's so much need, which is why I look forward to working with you guys to try to figure out. I know you're not worried about this at this moment, but soon, who are you going to hand this off to? Who's going to continue to run with this as you guys continue, raise your kids and get back involved in your companies in the way that you know you have to? But the Mississippi 30-Day Fund hopefully will be here for a while and continue to bring money in and help small businesses survive so that we can keep that vital part of our economy. Hey, we're at the end of this segment. When we come back, I want to get the latest on the numbers, a look at the number of applications we're having. Man, what an incredible success rate so far. So we'll look back at the start and where we are today and all of that with Brian and Marie Sanderson from the Mississippi 30-Day Fund when we come back from this break.
So we'll look back at the start.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at SuperTalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk, Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else.
This is House Call for Health. There may be no greater medical mystery and no greater tragedy than sudden infant death syndrome. It used to be known as crib death. For no apparent reason, a presumably healthy sleeping baby dies. Medical experts don't have clear-cut answers to what causes sudden infant death, or SIDS, but now they have two risk factors: smoking and drinking during pregnancy beyond the first 3 months. A new study finds that babies whose mothers drank alcohol and smoked tobacco after the first trimester are at far greater risk of SIDS, 12 times greater. Previous studies showed a risk of smoking and drinking individually. This study says doing both drastically increases the danger. The research is sponsored by the National Institutes of Health, which is calling for greater publicity about the danger and improved screening at the very beginning of a pregnancy. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
We know that we're asking Americans to do a lot right now. So we're asking everyone to be selfless for others so that we can protect those who are most susceptible to this virus.
A question I often get asked is, why should young people care about the spread of coronavirus? Well, we know that people with underlying medical conditions over the age of 60 are at highest risk, but they've got to get it from somebody.
Social distancing is really physical separation of people.
It's what we refer to when we ask people to stay at least 6 feet apart.
Not going to bars, not going to restaurants, not going to theaters where there are a lot of people. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others who might actually be infected or infect you.
We all have a role to play in preventing person-to-person spread of this disease, which can be deadly for vulnerable groups. For more information on how you can social distance, please go to coronavirus.gov.
SuperTalk. Nobody keeps Mississippi informed like we do. With 12 stations covering all 82 counties. If it happens in your state, we're on top of it. The news, the weather, the sports, and the talk that's important to you. The issues that matter to you, your family, and your bank account. It's all right here. And when you're away from home, depend on the SuperTalk app and supertalk.fm to stay in the know. We're proud to serve our fellow Mississippians. SuperTalk, Mississippi. Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Brian and Marie Sanderson. They live in Ocean Springs. They're entrepreneurs. They do work all across the United States, but they took the time, even with 3 kids, to start the Mississippi 30-Day Fund, a fund that's incredibly important to small businesses, not just here, because there are 30-day funds that are enacted in other states as well, but they've been really focused here. So why don't we do this? Let's start. How many applications have you guys received so far for small businesses that need help?
We have completed applications, probably somewhere around 800, and then probably another 700 that are in some level of the process that haven't been finally, submitted yet. So it continues to grow, and I think that's indicative of the uncertainty that everyone is feeling right now with COVID-19, particularly small businesses.
Well, I mean, that gives you a sense of the compelling nature of the need. I mean, there is a case for action really unlike anything I've seen in a very long time. How many have you funded now, or what are you on course to fund relative to that 800 applications?
Right now, we're on course to fund approaching 100 applicants, and again, great diversity from all across the state, different types of businesses. Well over half of them are minority owned. Almost 60% are owned by women. So it's a good illustration of the great diversity we have in our state.
Literally, you're probably getting applications from every county in the state, I would guess.
Yeah,
that's incredible. And I think people should know too, before we go any further, that the work is all being done by volunteers. There are no administrative costs. You're either bearing those yourself, or you've got key volunteers that are helping you. Talk about the volunteer infrastructure.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Ricky. Ole Miss and Mississippi State have loaned us graduate students who've been going through our application process. We have an executive director. This is no secret, we put on all of our social media channels. Our students will be going back to school. Our executive director is going to law school, and so we're asking for new help. The good news is that people are responding. I had 3 phone calls yesterday of people who wanted to volunteer and get involved. So that's encouraging, but this is all volunteer. Every dollar raised goes right back out to a small business in need. And Brian and I manage those groups of volunteers. And so we can't do it without help. Our hashtag, we send people to our social media channels because you can see everyone that we're funding and updates from us. It's a great way to see what we're doing and keep up. But our hashtag is Mississippians Helping Mississippians. And that's what we're doing. That is what this is all about.
Wow. So some of your key volunteers the school year is starting for them as well. So yeah. So I hope you heard clearly that if you're in a position where you have strong administrative skills and can volunteer your time to help Marie and Brian with this fund, it would be great to hear from you. So you can reach them on social media. Just reach out to them that way. It's probably the easiest way to get them. They're on Facebook. They're on. I guess you're on just about all the
Facebook,
social media.
Twitter, or Instagram. Yeah. We watch it very carefully.
Yeah. Well, good. So reach out to them. So let's talk about where the money's coming from. So as I mentioned, individuals, but you've also recently announced some really important partnerships. Tell me about that.
Well, we have some new corporate partners. Sanderson Farms made an announcement that they would join us. We have Atmos Energy joined early on, along with Ceasefire. We have Cooperative Energy in Madison and Hattiesburg have been helpful to us, and we're excited about that. And we know of a couple of more that are considering. I think sometimes it takes a first mover, and we appreciate Sanderson Farms for helping us scream loud and clear that they're assisting, and we got several phone calls after their involvement. We have foundations. We have a couple of announcements coming up with some national foundations. We're tirelessly working to find resources to fund our pipeline. And our applicants know that if they're on their wait list, we're doing everything we can to try and provide help to them.
I was so thrilled to see Joe Sanderson once again take such a strong leadership role. He was the chairman. You know this, but some of the audience may not know this, that he was the chairman of the Governor's Restart Committee. And after Hurricane Katrina, he was actually one of the vice chairmen that worked with us on the executive committee to form the Governor's Commission on Recovery, Rebuilding, and Renewal. And he's just one of those guys, in spite of the fact, I'm sure, that he's got a day job that keeps him quite busy in Sanderson Farms, that he just keeps stepping up and being a leader in this community. And you think about Sanderson Farms. I was talking to someone recently, because of the more people eating from home and less people eating chicken in restaurants. There's a recalibration of his businesses going on. So it's not like he doesn't have a lot to think about. I think the good news is people are still eating chicken, but the fact is that the business has changed. But he has this incredible love for Mississippi, and he's always trying to figure out how he can use his leadership to make a difference. I'm not overstating that, am I?
Not at all. No, he's been there every step of the way.
So as I said to you guys once, who's the next Joe Sanderson? You got to keep hopefully finding those kind of partners that are going to make a difference. One of the things you guys do is you require with the application a video of the shop owner, the small business owner talking about their situation. And I've said before that what a great idea that was. It's sort of like you're having a Zoom call with them, except that it's a recording. But you're able to learn a lot about their business and see their passion. And man, we're lucky in this state to have so many incredible entrepreneurs that are hanging it out there to try to find success in their life. I mean, it's really inspiring, isn't it?
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, look at our most recent example, Mary Lee Furr here in Ocean Springs with Miner's Toy Store received a grant. If you want to be inspired with joy and what a small business can do for a community, go look at that video that we just posted. It's amazing. But her and so many other small businesses across the state, when we think of these special towns that people like to go visit, or when we think about our hometown that we grew up in, it's often the small businesses that create that environment and that culture and things that we love about small towns are the small businesses.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Marie. Yeah.
No, I was just going to add, and we were talking about the needs earlier. The small businesses are the first ones who fund United Way, the chambers, who give to your school or your nonprofits silent auction, oftentimes. And so, we're trying to keep these small businesses alive so they can pay it forward in so many other ways.
Well, as we talked about before, when you have a concept, I mean, sort of at a high level, as a company, as two people who are used to seeing opportunity and building companies around it and all of that, that's sort of the initial approach you take. It's high level, there's a need. We're going to bring it back to Mississippi. We're going to make a difference. But then you start meeting these people and you start seeing their videos and you start seeing their incredible need and their passion to want to stay in business, and how much that grant could literally be the difference between staying in business and not staying in business. And it hooks you, doesn't it? It literally hooks you. You say, my God, when I got into this, I didn't realize that it was going to be emotional, but it became this drive to make a difference is really emotional, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sort of self-perpetuating that, you see the need there, and then the gratitude of the award recipients, and you want to keep doing and want to do more. You want to reach more people because of the need, but the immense gratitude and willingness to press on.
And listen, guys, here's the thing that I think most people need to understand. And I think most people get this, but I'll just say it because it's important to kind of bring it to the surface. The largest segment of business ownership in the United States is small business. Small business is the key to our economy. It is small business in each of the communities that make up Mississippi that are the ones who give to the United Ways. They're the ones who are participating and volunteering for Goodwill Industries of South Mississippi, and they're the ones that are helping fill these gaps. So when they're struggling, all of these nonprofits struggle. That could not be more true, can it?
It's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Again, if you go look at our social media page, you're going to see people who are key to these communities and are doing that, who are struggling right now. But they all say at the end of everything, I will pay it forward as soon as I can. We don't ask them to say that. They do that. We don't coach them through these videos. They all understand the spirit and want to be on their feet to help people as soon as they can.
So, my plea as it was before, if you're a small business and you're doing well in this COVID environment, please think about paying it forward. And Mississippi 30-Day Fund would be a great place to do that. If you got PPP money and things turned out better than you expected them to be, then think about paying it forward. Think about the number of business owners who are in your shoes, who are not doing as well as you're doing, and who need help. And there is no, a lot of these people did not get PPP money, did they?
That's true. I mean, we take that into consideration absolutely when we fund a business. How much PPP did you get? Did you get it at all? Have you received state funds? And we're really trying to fund these, all of whom are worthy, but based on need. Who's received resources? A lot of these didn't have access to financing, and that's one reason why we stood this up.
Yeah, so look, we're at the end of our time together, but this is the Mississippi 30-Day Fund that we're talking about. This is Brian and Marie Sanderson, the kind of community volunteers that you've got to have in a pandemic scenario. And we're blessed to have them, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you joining me on the show today. Hang in there. Keep up.
We will. Thank you, Ricky.
Thanks, Ricky.
Okay, God bless you.
Hey, want to come work for the #1 radio group on the coast? TeleSouth Media has a great opportunity for an outside sales consultant. Get paid while having fun and work in the exciting, fast-paced world of radio. We have award-winning stations like 97.9 CPR Rocks, 105.9 The Monkey, G96.7, SuperTalk 103.1, and 103.5 The Possum. Take the first step towards a new and rewarding career. Submit your resume to Jesse@telesouth.com. That's JESSE@telesouth.com. TeleSouth Media is an equal employment opportunity employer.
The Dean's List with Janice Dean.
A compassionate young man who became a dinner companion for a stranger makes today's Dean's List. Lisa Mealander and her family had been eating at the Eaton Park in Belle Vernon, Pennsylvania, when she noticed how her server was interacting with a senior patron. The server, Dylan Teetle, had dropped to one knee so he could give his full attention to the gentleman. Lisa wrote on Facebook, "The man apologized for not hearing well, and he talked about how he lost his hearing during the war. He was 91 years old with many stories to tell, and Dylan patiently listened, giving him his full attention. He also helped the man figure out a meal from the menu before putting the order into the kitchen." Lisa tried to flag Dylan down so she could offer to pay for the man's meal. Dylan said someone else had already taken care of the check. Before leaving her table, Lisa snapped pictures of Dylan chatting with the senior and published them to Facebook, where they have been since shared thousands of times. Thank you, Dylan, for your kindness, and Lisa for sharing this story with all of us. Janice Dean, Fox News.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk, Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else. Staying informed is a full-time job, even more so during an election year. That's why SuperTalk is here. With Fox News, News Mississippi, and the Super Talkers, you'll go inside the campaigns, and we'll separate what's real from what's not to bring you the latest information that matters. From now until you go into the voting booth on November 3rd, your election headquarters is Super Talk, Mississippi. Available on the Super Talk app and at supertalk.fm. From the Gallo Radio Show archives.
In the house, Mike Hurst.
When I started at the end of 2017, sadly, our office had gotten so low during the last administration. I think in FY16, we prosecuted 11 illegal immigration cases, 11, which is embarrassing. First year I was there, we had jumped almost 700% to 77 prosecutions. And, Paul, that number I think is going to increase very much more this year. We are continuing to see illegal immigration impact crime around the state. I'll give you a perfect example. About a month ago, we prosecuted an illegal alien who had brought 9 kilos of heroin and 1 kilo of fentanyl through our state. Now, to give your listeners an idea of what 2.2 pounds of fentanyl will do, that will wipe out 1 million people, Paul. That'll wipe out 1/3 of our state.
This has been another Gallo Radio Show audio archive.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it, so do your part and stay home. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit social gatherings. If you need essential items like food and medicine, try using a delivery service. If you must leave your house for essential items, or if you want to take a walk for exercise, make sure to wear a cloth face covering. Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Try not to touch frequently touched surfaces like light signals, street signs, or benches. And wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus, so stay home unless absolutely necessary. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
SuperTalk. Nobody keeps Mississippi informed like we do. With 12 stations covering all 82 counties. If it happens in your state, we're on top of it. The news, the weather, the sports, and the talk that's important to you. The issues that matter to you, your family, and your bank account. It's all right here. And when you're away from home, depend on the SuperTalk app and supertalk.fm to stay in the know. We're proud to serve our fellow Mississippians. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
You've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. You have to carefully monitor your health for the rest of your life. And you have an increased risk of developing cardiovascular disease.
Cut. Type 2, take 2.
Action. You've been diagnosed with a new purpose, to fight for the amazing life you made for yourself, to look that risk of heart disease square in the face and say, no, not me. You've been given a new opportunity to live. Get started at NoDiabetesByHeart.org.
He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I'm so thrilled to have had the conversation with Brian and Marie Sanderson talking about the Mississippi 30-Day Fund. If you missed that conversation, it's so important. Go to the SuperTalk Gulf Coast Facebook page or to the SuperTalk Mississippi YouTube page, and you can watch that conversation. We need, and thank God we have a lot of people like Marie and Brian who are working in the community to help us fill gaps. Volunteer leadership, I cannot tell you how important that is to coastal Mississippi. So now let's turn the page and move over to my old friend, Matt Buckley, who is the principal at St. Patrick High School. I should actually say Dr. Buckley. Since the last time we talked, Matt, you got your PhD. I want to congratulate you.
Yeah, thank you, Ricky. It's good to see you and good to be with you today. It's the first time I've been calling anyone's old friend, so that definitely old these days, but good to see you and good to be with you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. We got a slight Wi-Fi issue with the technology, but we're going to work through that and continue to go forward. But yeah, my daughter Tori graduated from Mercy Cross, and she taught at St. Patrick and now teaches at St. James. And then my sons, Jordan and Justin, both graduated from St. Patrick and have gone on to do good things in their career, thank God. But we laid a great framework in their Catholic education, and you were a big part of Jordan and Justin's education. And then, of course, you worked with Tori. So we're connected in lots of different ways.
Yeah, what a wonderful family, and I get to keep up specifically with Tori quite often, and then and the boys would keep up on Facebook and everything. But it looks like everyone is doing well, and you have a wonderful family, a beautiful family. So it's always great to see and keep up with everyone.
Well, thanks. I mentioned yesterday, Tori and Ann were just thrilled when they learned that I was going to be talking to you. But during the time that you've been principal, you continued your education and have worked really hard to continue to be the best educator you can be. And in a way, it sort of prepared you for this moment. I've talked to superintendents from across the coast, and I mentioned with Brian and Marie just a few minutes ago that there could not be more challenging times than now for educators. But you're watching people around you just rise to the occasion, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And in times of crisis and in challenging times, you see that, and you see leaders emerge, and you see the best come out of people, and you see people working harder than ever. I mentioned quite often, this time of the year is always busy for us in the school business. So we're always working around the clock, preparing for the first day of school under normal circumstances. This year, of course, is much different and much elevated and more challenging and more hours. But we've got a great team here at St. Patrick and really at all of our Catholic schools in the Diocese of Biloxi. And I couldn't ask for better people to work alongside of each day.
So you guys, you actually started working on your plan for reopening school, a couple of months ago, maybe even longer, anticipating that the CDC requirements and all that COVID brings to you in terms of challenges, we're going to literally change the way you do business and the way you educate kids. So why don't we kind of start from the top? Let's kind of walk us through what does your plan look like, and what will the typical child experience when they come to? Because you're not necessarily saying the push is to come back to the classroom. The push is to restart the education, and that could come in different forms. So let's walk through that.
Yeah, absolutely. Back in March too, we closed very quickly, and our teachers and our staff transitioned to a virtual learning environment very quickly. And when I think back to that, in the moment, we were so busy and caught up in everything that, you have to look back on things. But I realize now how impressed I am, how impressive it was for them to literally transition their entire world and everything that they've done and everything that they're trained and prepared for from the classroom, from the traditional setting to online, because it was our priority and utmost importance that we continue to provide the highest quality educational experience possible and the highest quality Catholic educational experience possible. So we did that almost just instantly whenever we found out that we were closing. And since then, our plan has been to try to reopen our campus, and we want to do that, of course, as safely as possible and with the well-being and the health of all of our stakeholders and all of our students and faculty and staff as our top priority. So we've been working the last few months on putting a plan in place that we've branded as the SP Shield plan to safely reopen our campus. Now, of course, we are providing a virtual option for families and parents who don't feel comfortable sending their children back to the physical setting. So we're going to have virtual classes where our classrooms will be live streamed to students' homes so that they can participate virtually if they need to. And then at this time, we're planning to reopen and be physically back on campus later this week. And but regardless of what path families choose, whether it's the in-person classes or whether it's the virtual classes, it's our priority that they receive the highest quality experience in both of those settings. So our teachers and staff are working really hard to get ready for both settings and prepare for both settings and to deliver that Catholic instruction and high quality instruction in both settings.
So let's talk about the in person, the folks, the kids that are actually going to the classroom. Talk us through how that process has changed things.
So typically, before this year, when students would arrive on campus in the morning, they get to hang out in the cafeteria or in the courtyard and see friends. And so we're going to shift that slightly for now and have students go directly to their first period class when they arrive on campus in the morning. So we're going to keep numbers as small as possible throughout the day. One of the great things about St. Patrick and on all of our Catholic schools is we've always tried to keep class sizes as small as possible. So this year's no different with regard to that. We're going to keep our classes absolutely as small as possible so that our teachers can personalize learning and individualize the learning experience as much as they possibly can. But now we'll be able to use that to have students socially distant as much as possible. So when they get here in the morning, they'll go straight to their first period class, and capacity will be limited in those classrooms. We are going to have students wear face masks whenever 6 feet or more of distance can't be ensured. So that'll be in the hallways and in the classrooms and on the buses and different things like that. And we've also installed hand sanitizer dispensers outside of every classroom so that students and faculty can wash their hands frequently. We've got sanitizing stations in the classroom, so teachers will sanitize the classroom desks between each class period. Buses will be sanitized after every route. Our athletic facilities will be sanitized after every practice and every event. So we're really stepping up the game with sanitation, with cleaning, with putting all of those protocols in place to try to have people back on campus and get us to stay here as long as we don't have exposure, and in multiple cases, they'll be able to stay on campus and continue their classes. But right now, our goal is to get everyone separated as much as possible, and to provide face mask and require face mask and to sanitize and to have everyone clean and be sanitized as much as possible.
So let me ask you a question. You say the first period class. So is it? I don't know how this works, so you can help me with this. But does a bell ring and the kids, get up and move to their next classroom, or do they stay in the same classroom the whole time?
Yeah, so at the high school level, our students, and here at St. Patrick specifically, they have 7 classes. So they'll start in their first period class, and they'll actually change classes throughout the day. So, when everyone, of course, will arrive at a different time in the morning. So that'll kind of keep the crowding in the morning to very minimal. But then throughout the day, they'll transition from one class to another. What we've done is we've set up our hallways to be one direction. So students will all walk in one direction. We've got plenty of space. So students won't be overcrowded in the hallway, but we're going to have everyone move in one direction to limit kids being too close together and to limit any kind of exposure. And of course, like I said, face masks will be required in the hallways too. So they'll transition from one class to the other, but we'll do that very safely and very orderly.
So one of my conversation with the superintendent of schools from Gulfport, well, Glenn East, he talked about the transportation piece of this, because a lot of public school kids are using transportation to get there, and they were really having to work through the logistics of how to reduce the load per bus. Getting parents involved in bringing the kids, opening the school earlier for parents who have to go to school earlier. Are there logistical challenges for you guys as it relates to the buses?
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, the transportation business is relatively new to us here at St. Patrick. So we purchased buses and added bus routes just a few years ago. So unlike the public school systems that are really equipped to running high quality transportation system, that's been very new for us at St. Patrick, and we've been able to do that because of the generosity of many of our benefactors, because of the foundation of St. Patrick. We felt that was a crucial point to provide transportation to help families get kids here, and as a result, I think we've seen a large increase in enrollment, partly because of that. But anyway, what we're going to do, so we have multiple bus routes every morning and afternoon, and they run to each of our partner elementary schools, so St. James being one of them. And what we're going to do now, we're going to limit capacity on buses. We're going to have students of the same households, so siblings will be seated together to allow as much space as possible. We will require face masks and hand sanitizer on buses. We're also going to run multiple routes each morning to each location. So we're going to have a kind of an early route and then a later route. So there'll be 2 routes pretty much to each location to pick up kids. So that way we can keep the numbers on the buses to a smaller capacity. I mentioned face masks, sanitizer. We're also going to do temperature checks. So students will have their temperature checked and will be screened before they board the bus in the morning. So if there's any issues, sickness, fever, they actually won't get on the bus and come on campus.
So let's do this. This is Dr. Matt Buckley, the principal of St. Patrick High School. When we come back after the break, I'm going to talk to Matt about a little bit more about what happens when they get a positive test, what's the protocols around that. I think you guys still have a school nurse. We'll talk about the role of the school nurse if you still have that, and then whatever other open issues we might have. We'll be back after this break.
Subscribe for free to the Coast View podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi, and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and all this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
in a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
We know that we're asking Americans to do a lot right now. So we're asking everyone to be selfless for others so that we can protect those who are most susceptible to this virus.
A question I often get asked is, why should young people care about the spread of coronavirus? Well, we know that people with underlying medical conditions over the age of 60 are at highest risk, but they've got to get it from somebody.
Social distancing is really physical separation of people.
It's what we refer to when we ask people to stay at least 6 feet apart.
Not going to bars, not going to restaurants, not going to theaters where there are a lot of people. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others who might actually be infected or infect you.
We all have a role to play in preventing person-to-person spread of this disease, which can be deadly for vulnerable groups. For more information on how you can social distance, please go to coronavirus.gov.
What decisions are being made by state lawmakers, and how will they affect you, your family, and community? If you listen, you'll know. SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk app, and at supertalk.fl.
Hi, I'm Billy Kinder, host of Big Billy Kinder Outdoors here. The show Saturdays at 1, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Turkeys, whitetail, Grenada Lake crappie, or Gulfport redfish. We enjoy it all, especially when you're in camp with us on SuperTalk Mississippi. Get out of the house and over to Big Play today. 2 massive arcades, bowling, go-karts, 2 mini golf courses, a 2-story state-of-the-art laser tag arena, bumper cars, and right now get a $50 game card for only $25. Visit our station's Facebook and print on demand so you can play at Big Play Entertainment Center now. These deals won't last long, so make sure you get your half-off deal. Big Play Entertainment Center, Highway 90 Biloxi. Bowl, play, eat. Go to our station's Facebook to get your half-off deal now. Hey, want to come work for the #1 radio group on the coast? TeleSouth Media has a great opportunity for an outside sales consultant. Get paid while having fun and work in the exciting, fast-paced world of radio. We have award-winning stations like 97.9 CPR Rocks, 105.9 The Monkey, G96.7, SuperTalk 103.1, and 103.5 The Possum. Take the first step towards a new and rewarding career. Submit your resume to Jesse at telesouth.com. That's JESSE at telesouth.com. TeleSouth Media is an equal employment opportunity employer.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I have Matt Buckley, the principal of St. Patrick High School, and as I mentioned, I should say Dr. Matt Buckley. I'm so proud of him. He got his PhD while he was a principal and continues to stay focused on, just becoming the best possible educator he can become. And one of the things I want to say, we talked about this at the beginning, but you're using Wi-Fi from your office. You're on a laptop, so there's a little bit of a drag in the technology coming into the radio station. And the reason for that is that you've got teachers who are there that are practicing streaming and all the things that are involved in the technology, and it's going to really test your Wi-Fi from now on, it looks like.
Yeah, so we welcomed teachers back to campus yesterday, as a matter of fact. And so we had a lot of in-service meetings and trainings and, opening sessions and opening school mass yesterday. But so today, right now, everyone, it's probably a bad time, but everyone's testing the technology and trying to figure everything out and make sure that everything is working properly. So there may be a little bit of a lag, but we're working on that and we'll work through it and we'll have that fixed and increase bandwidth, whatever we need to do here on campus.
We can understand you. Yeah, we can understand you. So, hey, real quick, technology has been really important, hasn't it? I mean, it's transformed your ability to respond to this situation.
Yeah, so at St. Patrick, we actually pushed, had a big technology initiative back a couple of years ago. We purchased laptops for all of our high school students and increased the bandwidth then and installed Wi-Fi all over campus and went to more of a digital learning atmosphere where students submit their coursework online, they take tests online. They still attend class in person, but all of their coursework and resources are available to them online. So we started, a couple of years ago, we started that. So the situation with COVID really pushed us in. We had some teachers before who were doing the minimum standards and using technology as we requested, but we had others who were going above and beyond with that. And in March, we kind of saw everyone shift to going above and beyond with using technology. It's really changed a lot, I think, for the better, the use of technology. So we're able to live stream classes home. I get to speak to the kids live stream every morning now for our morning prayer and devotion and announcements. And we've connected with parents. We've had 2 live sessions on Facebook and YouTube over the last week to let parents join us and ask questions and get some answers and give us some feedback. So the use of technology has increased, and it's been a good thing.
So, hey, do you guys still have a school nurse at St. Patrick?
We currently don't have a school nurse, but we certify. We have several of our members of our team, specifically our staff members, are certified in CPR and are trained to handle crisis situations and things such as that.
So what's the protocol going to be if you have a student test positive?
Yes, if we have, we've got this completely outlined. We've tried to think of every scenario. We put this in our handbook and sent it out to, of course, parents and students and stakeholders. But basically, if we have a student test positive, then anyone who's in close contact with that student will be required to quarantine for 14 days. And we'll, of course, have to go through the whole process of either being tested or staying out 14 days, being fever-free for 48 hours after that before returning back to campus. So, we're really going to take the precautions to make sure that if there is a case that we isolate that as much as possible so that it doesn't spread. And of course, we'll sanitize the location on campus where that occurs. It will give everyone the option in the classroom to quarantine, but we'll only require that of those who are within close contact of the COVID case. The good news, though, is that when and if someone does test positive, they're able to transition to our school-to-home virtual learning program. So they'll go home for 14 days, but they'll participate in their classes from home. So they'll watch the classes on live stream, and they'll participate in all the lessons and assignments and discussions from home.
Well, that's great to hear. Some of the best contact tracing is happening today, not through the state of Mississippi, through the health departments, through families. If someone knows someone or there's someone in their family who has been exposed to COVID, then the families are the ones who are making sure that anyone who might have been exposed to that person is aware of it and quarantining and whatever. So the role that families play and what you just discussed, whether it be a student who has tested positive or a family member of a student, that the families have a role in making sure that you guys are aware of it, so you can just make sure you're not leaving a stone unturned to do the proper contact tracing to make sure that you can contain any potential outbreak that could occur. And I can't overstate that, can I?
No, absolutely not. And one of the great assets of our stakeholders here at St. Patrick is our families. We have wonderful parents and wonderful families who are literally invested in their children receiving the best education possible. So they cooperate very well with us, and I think I credit a lot of our success to the fact that we have parents and family members who are very cooperative, who are very invested in their child receiving the best education and the best Catholic education possible, and so they really, have stepped up the game and are doing what we asked.
So this has been Matt Buckley, Dr. Matt Buckley, who is the principal of St. Patrick's School, and he outlined for us a combination in-classroom virtual approach where they're moving one way in the hallways, where they're working really diligently to keep social distancing and masks where appropriate. And you've got a good plan to quarantine if a kid tests positive or even a family member tests positive. Hey, we'll be back to you in a couple of weeks to check in with you. You're doing a great job, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you, Ricky. Always good to see you, and look forward to seeing you very soon.
Okay, buddy. Take care. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast View on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to SuperTalk MSGulfCoast.com.